Feeling inspired by hosts Ron and Tyler to work on your health? The MovieBuffs podcast is brought to you by Time to Train Fitness, your home for on-demand workouts for every level of fitness. Exercise with amazing certified instructors that want you to push through any barriers. At Time to Train Fitness, you'll find quality workouts across 6 class formats, including indoor cycling, HIIT, bar, yoga, strength training, and dance cardio. Stream brand new classes releasing every week in our 450-plus on-demand workout library. Use the link in the description to view all of the membership options and to start a free 5-day trial. Get ready to press play on your next workout.
Hey everybody, Ron Jam here, and I'm excited to talk to you today about our sponsor. For any of my fellow fitness buffs out there who love to train, you also know that hard training leads to aches and pains, and that's why I love today's sponsor, Royal and Pure CBD. Their philosophy is to enhance your life with pure ingredients that you and your pet can feel good taking. Royal and Pure products combine the healing properties of hemp-derived CBD with other active botanical ingredients to enrich your daily activities and ease the aches, inflammation, and pains that come from being active, aging, or just daily life. I use their salve on all my achy spots, especially on my recovery days, and I always use their PM tincture to help me get a great night's sleep and recover to hit it hard the next day. They're offering our listeners 20% off at checkout by using code RONJAM20. So if you're interested in checking out their great products and seeing just how helpful they can be, visit royalandpure.com and use code RONJAM20 at checkout for 20% off. Okay, time for the show. Hello and good morning, afternoon, or good night to our fellow movie buffs. You might notice that today is a little bit quieter. That's because that older weirdo, LT Gray, isn't here today. And you know what that means? It's episode 2 of Back Day. So for episode 2, I want to talk about another movie that Tyler inexplicably doesn't like. Another movie that means a lot to me. And something that I feel is in the spirit of not only the way we do this podcast, you know, it's kind of DIY, it's just Tyler and me. But the way I do this episode in particular, it's just me with all my mics set up on boxes to get to the right height and, you know, sound dampeners around. Sometimes I've used pillows for it. Now I have a nice little vocal booth. But the film I'm talking about is 2021's Inside by Bo Burnham. Now, Tyler doesn't like Bo Burnham or his comedy because he says it's, quote, not funny. And I tell him sometimes that's not the point. So Bo Burnham, anybody who's not familiar with him, is actually one of the very early YouTube superstars. He was like 15 or 16 years old when he first started making joke songs in his room of his childhood home. And he quickly blew up because this was at the inception of YouTube. And he parlayed that into his stand-up comedy career. And I believe he has 4 specials that are up on Netflix now, the latest of which being Inside. So before I dig into what is so important about Inside to me, I'm going to go over just kind of the gist of it. As I said, it is a stand-up or performance film, so there's not exactly a narrative. But the thing that makes it so special is he filmed it throughout 2021 during the pandemic, and the way he did that was just by himself in his, it appears to be his studio space in his home, like a back house. He lit it himself. He obviously wrote it himself. He performed it himself. He directed it. He edited it. He was the guy on the cameras. He did the special effects. He did the transitions. And I think it is a really cool time capsule for this period we're in. And beside the DIY nature that was necessitated by the pandemic, it also is a really, I want to say, it's kind of a good look that it encapsulates the way a lot of us were feeling, where you're trapped, you know. There's points in the movie where he talks about, I planned on having this done by this date, but now it's been, you know, he's 12, 13, 14 months into shooting this thing that he doesn't know if he's ever going to put out, or he's scared to finish because then he has no purpose left. So it's a really cool picture of the psyche of not only this individual person, but kind of a microcosm of maybe the psyches of a lot of the people in the world who were trapped inside. So let's get into it without further ado. I'm going to go song by song, track by track. I think I neglected to mention that it is a musical. Each of his kind of jokes is set up as a song. So there's talking portions, there's musical portions. So I'm going to go track by track and talk about what it's about, talk about what it meant to me, and hopefully you enjoy. And hopefully at the end of this, I've convinced you to go on Netflix and watch Inside. Oh, and before I jump into the actual content of the film, I want to point out that it was nominated for several Emmys and actually won 3. So that's pretty impressive for a feature-length project that was written, directed, and performed and executed and edited by one man. So just keep that in mind. Okay, here we go. So, like most of us, Bo Burnham was locked inside of his home for the majority of 2020 and, up until most of 2021 and even till today. This film takes place, like I said, in this one room of his home. And periodically he'll stop to give direct addresses and update how much time has passed and how his mental state has deteriorated throughout the songs that is interspersed. And the songs I'll go through kind of one by one now. So the song format was actually released as a album called Inside the Songs. So if you want to go on Spotify and check that out or leave from here and go listen, it's also worth the watch. But I prefer it in film form. The songs are Content, Comedy, FaceTime with My Mom, How the World Works, White Woman's Instagram, Unpaid Intern, Bezos 1, Sexting, Look Who's Inside Again, Problematic, 30, Don't Want to Know, Shit, All Time Low, Welcome to the Internet, Bezos 2, That Funny Feeling, All Eyes on Me, Goodbye, and Any Day Now. So I want to just give that quick list because I want to go in depth on a couple of the songs that I feel best encapsulate the theme of the project itself and also resonated most with me. So the first one is Content. On Content, it's basically a song apologizing for being away for so long and explaining that he's here to make content. In a way, it kind of satirizes the way that people look at art as it's just content. But for the people making it, if it doesn't have some deeper meaning, it tends to ring hollow. So I really like that as a way to set the scene. The next song that I thought was really encapsulating of the time period was FaceTime, where a lot of us were trapped inside and the only thing we had to do to pass the time was a scheduled FaceTime with one of our family members. In the case of this song, it's his mom, and he talks about all the foibles of talking to someone of an older generation on a FaceTime, and they keep messing it up. So that one was fun. But the next one that I felt really hit home for me was a song called 30. This came out in May of 2021, and unfortunately, according to calendars and how the world works, I turned 30 in June of 2021. So his song about turning 30 and the crisis it caused him was very real for me. In the song, he sings about how because he got famous in the comedy industry as a teenager, that he was used to being the young one, used to being kind of a whiz kid. And now that his 20s were ending, he didn't know how to identify himself, that he was officially an adult and in all measurable terms, a grown man. So this is something I was having a problem with too. I always thought of myself as kind of a kid. I don't know. To get a little deeper with that, I kind of still feel that way. I feel like I have a childlike exuberance that I was worried about losing or worried about being age inappropriate now that I'm a man in my 30s. So just the way he expresses it in the song is clever and fun, but it also, like I said, really resonated with me. So moving on to the next track that really hit with me. There's 2 tracks back to back called Shit and All Time Low. And they're both, some people I've heard in reviews call them redundant because they both address his declining mental state. But I feel like that's the point. So in Shit is a song, it's a call and respond song where it goes, the audience, if you're feeling like shit, tell me how you're feeling like shit. Oh yeah. And it's just basically him trying to have fun with the fact that he's severely depressed. And then in All Time Low, it's more of a talking portion where he mentions that his aforementioned mental health has reached an all-time low. And again, this kind of hit home. I mean, it came out right after probably for a lot of us the darkest global period we've ever been through. And it was refreshing to have it. He's joking about it, but he's also being quite sincere about the fact that things are hard and he's at a low and he's not sure what to do. And sometimes even if somebody addresses something like that, even without the offer of hope or a solution, sometimes it makes things better just to know that you're not the only one. So those 2 songs really resonated with me. The next song that I felt is really encapsulated. I got to stop saying encapsulate, guys. I got to stop. The next song that I felt encompasses the themes of the project best is a song called Welcome to the Internet. And that one is, like it says, it's a welcome to the internet. It kind of talks about the paradoxical nature of having all of the information and all of the entertainment at your fingertips all of the time and still finding a way to be bored and finding a way to upset yourself when there's infinite amounts of happy content. And it really speaks to what past generations haven't had to deal with. And I think my generation is one of the first that had to deal with this, where there's so much access that you almost feel guilty for feeling bored, or you feel lost, that there's just too much of everything. And that's where that song kind of lies, and that's what it addresses. And it's also a fun song. It kind of sounds like a Disney villain song. It made me convinced that Bo Burnham needs to voice a Disney villain or compose a animated musical of some sort. I think it'd be fun. Hopefully he's working on that now. And then one of my favorite songs is kind of unexpected. The majority of the songs were kind of synth heavy, kind of in the middle of R&B and pop sounding on the production, and the vocals are a little more musical style. But this one turns to a full folk style. It even has a electronically added sound of a crackling campfire. And in the visual version, he's actually sitting and has a campfire projected around him in this bedroom. And it's a guitar and vocal only song called That Funny Feeling. And it's not that funny of a song, I gotta say, but it is a really good song. Anybody who likes folk music will probably enjoy it. And it's probably the most sincere of the songs, or close to it. And again, it just kind of talks about the paradoxical nature of our reality as it is nowadays. Just for instance, one of the lines is, a gift shop at the gun range and a mass shooting at the mall. Just a way that we can normalize tragedy very easily because of the access to all the information in the world. It's really hard to be sensitive to tragedy when every single day we see dozens in a way that we never could before. And then right off the back of That Funny Feeling comes the Kanye West-esque All Eyes on Me. I love this song. I got to say, it's actually a banger, and it's really emotional. It kind of just talks about the feeling of being in front of the whole crowd, right? But there is this direct address interlude in the middle where he tells the story. And basically his story was that the reason there had been so much time between his 2016 special, Make Happy, and this 2021 special is because on his last tour, he was having debilitating panic attacks on stage. So what he decided to do was give up comedy. And he spent the past 4.5 years in therapy, doing everything he could to try to get better, because he knew that, live performances were the thing that made him most happy, and he had to get back to them. So he starts writing new material. He starts feeling better. And finally, in January of 2020, he begins prep on a tour that's supposed to start in April of 2020. And then the funniest thing happens. So when it comes back from the interlude, he then returns to this bombastic arena hip hop style song. And at the end, it just entirely falls apart. He's weeping on the mic. Again, Tyler is probably right with his critique that a lot of this maybe isn't the most funny, but also I'm right that it's not the point. So he's weeping. Then he has a song called Goodbye and Any Day Now. That's basically one of them. Goodbye is an interpolation of all the songs kind of put together, mashed up into a medley that reiterates and ties together all the themes of the album. And then Any Day Now is just the outro. Like I said, the emotional themes and the kind of journey it can take you on, even though it's a comedy musical album, I think is super profound and super worth your time. And I got to circle back to some of those direct address interludes that happen between the songs. And there's parts where he just is sitting there and being open about, I am not having a good time. He does address the fact that after a year of working on this, he said he's scared that he may not have anything to live for if he finishes it. So he kind of decided to never stop doing it. Spoiler alert, Bo Burnham is here and well, thankfully. But I am really a strong proponent for normalizing mental health talks. I think everybody should be in some form of therapy, even if everything's doing okay. I think it's a very underrated part. And this being a health and fitness podcast as well, so we can tie it in a little bit there. But my take is that we should take as much time thinking about our psychological and mental health as we do about our physical health. Because if we don't have those things, then our quality of life is not going to be as good as it could be. So that's why I find this kind of thing really important, and it resonates with me a lot. As somebody who does deal with a lot of mental health issues, it's nice to see somebody tackle these things kind of head on, but also tackle them in a way that says, it can still be funny. Things can still be funny. We can still have fun with it, but it is important to check in on yourself. And my biggest takeaway is that. Check in on yourself and check in on the people you love. And maybe if you get a chance, go watch Inside by Bo Burnham. Well, everybody, I hope you liked my quasi-in-depth, quasi-ranting review and endorsement of Bo Burnham's Inside. This episode is kind of a little pop-up episode because scheduling conflicts make our most recent long episode unable to come out on the necessary date. So we pushed this one a little earlier because, as I said, it's just me here, so it's a little easier to get recorded and edited and put out. So if you happen to listen to next week's episode, you might hear mention of the fact that I'm working on the episode you're listening to now. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this wasn't too serious for you. But at the end of the day, sometimes you got to take a little bit of seriousness to make the funny even more fun. I hope you'll consider following us on Facebook and Instagram, MovieBuffs_podcast. And if you like this episode, or if you didn't like this episode, please still leave a 5-star review. And then the comments portion of the review, you can say whatever the hell you want. Call me a dumbass. Say you didn't find it interesting, Tyler. Go ahead. Tell me all that stuff, Tyler. But please leave a 5-star review and share it if you enjoyed it. One more parting note. I want to reiterate to all of you that my big takeaway is take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Stay buff. And I'll see you next time. Bye.